Turk channel.
What's up, guys? It's your King Life, Vincent Valentine EX Turk, and we're going to be tackling another discussion today. I know I've been doing mostly discussions. I'm on a roll, but anyways, that's not what matters now. What matters now is that we're having another discussion about the Final Fantasy XV compilation. Now let's get to it. Let's start with the first game that never got made, and that was Versus 13. Even though it's no longer canon anymore, we still need to address it as what it was, what it could have been. The themes of Final Fantasy Versus 13 were of death, the goddess of death, Etro, and the final attack of the Foul Sea, because the original Niflheim Empire were actually Foul Sea. Of course, game got scrapped, so we never got to see that. We just saw a bunch of trailers, and people interpreted trailers. Big Final Fantasy YouTubers like Final Fantasy Peasant has interpreted the Final Fantasy Versus 13 trailers, when it was coming out. But so, all we got was interpretations. We never actually got a permanent thing of it, but we just know that's what the themes were. But they had to change the themes, of course. 15 was originally supposed to follow Final Fantasy Versus 13's role in that, but China didn't allow them to have themes of death worship or Grim Reaper worship, so they had to change the game a little bit. And because it was Final Fantasy 15, they had to take out everything that was reminiscent to Final Fantasy 13, which made sense. I can attest to that. You changed the game, so now, all right, let's skip over to A King's Tale. The Final Fantasy 15 at King's Tale is about young Regis' journey that he tells Noctis. He tells Noctis about his journey as a bedtime story, and you're supposed to complete the bedtime story with Regis and his Kingsguard, Cid, Claris, and I think his name's Morbius. I can't remember. The black dude that you see in Altissia. Those were some of his Kingsguard as it is, but of course they all departed, of course, right after this, because you don't really see them. They're in different places, but you get the point. You're supposed to complete a bedtime. You're supposed to complete a bedtime story that you're telling Noctis as older Regis, playing as younger Regis, and trying to collect the astrals and bring light to the crystal. Which again, it didn't end with Regis because it never got completed. It never got completed on the fact that, it was Noctis that was destined to be the true King of Light to do it. Now, Regis was a King of Light. Regis was a King of Light. That's why he was able to become a Knights Surrounding Kingsglaive. But this was really, Noctis was the chosen one, exactly. Regis started the path for him. That's why in the Omen trailer, you see King Regis, or at least in one of the trailers, you see King Regis crying, holding his young, son Noctis, because he knows his son Noctis is going to be the sacrifice to bring the world of light back, and it has to be done in order for Arden's wrath to be stopped. Because due to the Omen trailer, remember what Arden said. I'm only looking forward to one death, and that made Regis furious. But nonetheless, that's not reminiscent to the here and now. Pretty much, A King's Tale is pretty much what's going to start Noctis' journey by looking into King Regis' journey when he was about Noctis' age in this game. So, let's tackle Final Fantasy XV Kingsglaive. Final Fantasy Kingsglaive was actually more of a political Final Fantasy 15. This had the politics. And this, so no astrals or gods or goddesses, angels or demons are reminiscent into. I mean, there are demons that attack Insomnia, don't get me wrong, but this is more the political stuff that happened in Versus 13 that they cut out that was very important. Such as the peace treaty with Emperor Idolus of Niflheim and King Regis of Insomnia were to sign a peace treaty, but Idolus betrays Regis and pulls out a gun on Regis, and Regis gets ready to fight. Of course, in the battle, Regis loses his life. But this time, unlike Versus 13, it's not by the hand of Idolus. It's by one of Idolus's original high commanders, General Glocka. So the real villain in Kingsglaive was General Glocka. You know, they only put Idolus and Arden because, well, they're political head figures, and you can't really have a peace treaty or a summit without the political heads. So, you know, that's why Idolus and Arden were there, but Idolus and Arden weren't the main villains. Even though there were more scenes of Idolus in Kingsglaive than there were of Final Fantasy XV, it was not about that. They weren't the true villains of the movie. The true villain of the movie was General Glocka. And this makes sense because this actually gets reminiscent to... See, this is why I think this is a good trilogy. This goes right into Final Fantasy XV because... Remember what I say in my theory video, that General Glocka is actually really a replacement. Ravis replaces General Glocka in Final Fantasy XV, meaning that Idolus planned Glocka to die in the battle. I mean, if he would have won the battle, then it probably would have changed things a lot differently, and Idolus would have been happy either way, but Idolus told him to stay there, hoping to get him killed off, because he had his eye on little Ravis, which was a fan theory, by the way. It was only a fan theory, so I wouldn't go running your mouth telling people this is exactly what happened. But I'm just saying, it's so... The trilogy of Final Fantasy XV is so synonymous to each other. It makes so much sense how things play out the way they do. Because in Kingsglaive, Nyx Ulrich, one of the King's Glaive members, you know, has to defeat his boss, Titus Drontis, which is General Glocka. And he actually tests the power of the King's Ring to show you what it's going to be like in the Final Fantasy XV game a little bit. But if anything, this is actually more of an hour and 15-minute cutscene for Final Fantasy XV. Now, people arguably say, I think it's bullshit, people arguably say, well, that could have been put in Final Fantasy XV and made it a little bit longer. An hour-long cutscene? Yeah, but people don't want to watch cutscenes. Gamers don't want to watch cutscenes. They're not like the Final Fantasy fan base. Like, we love cutscenes. We Final Fantasy fans love cutscenes. We'll even watch 2 hours of a cutscene in the game. But gamers, they wanted to get Final Fantasy 15 out for people who have not played a Final Fantasy. That's why they turned it into an action RPG. So, it's kind of a good thing that they turned this into a movie. Of course, it sucks at the same time because in order for you to understand what happened before, in between Noctis's beginning of Noctis's journey and stuff like that, in between, you actually had to buy the movie Kingsglaive. Runs on Blu-ray or $14 DVD at Walmart. But it's still pretty good. It's still a pretty good deal, if anything else, because it increases the trilogy really well. Now, I think that they could have put some more stuff in Final Fantasy 15. But let's close with Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive. General Glocka is defeated. Luna Freya has the ring and is already on her way to Alticia. Final Fantasy 15 happens. The first part of Noctis' journey is over, so they're past the Golden Key and going to see Iris and Lestalem. Now, this game was about the asteroids. Part 1 was about the same journey that King Regis took, but this time Noctis takes it and collects all the astrals that are alive. Because remember, the other 6 got killed off by the Niflheim Empire. So this one will take a more role than anything else. Now the political stuff is over. Final Fantasy 15 is about a war between gods versus demons. Because the demons wants to have the whole world to themselves, and the gods and kings of light has to put an end to the demons. Such is the demon king Arden Azunia, which is the star part, which controls who controls the Star Scourge, and Ifrit. Both Ifrit and Arden are the big bad guys in this one. Now, don't get me wrong, Idolus was pretty big, but Idolus was only a puppet all this time. And same thing with Ravis when Ravis was on the run of revenge, but then Ravis redeems himself, and for the last moments of his life is a good guy, and wants to really generally help out due to the loss of his sister by the same people who killed his mother. But nonetheless, this Final Fantasy 15 is more about an Armageddon war against with the Astros and Kings of Light versus the demons of the Star Scourge. And this is why I said both Arden and Ifrit had to be destroyed. They both control the Star Scourge. That's why after you defeat Ifrit, the Star Scourge is still there, because Ifrit turned Arden into the full Star Scourge as he is. And this is where the King of Light has to banish the darkness once and for all, but with the cost of his life, because Noctis can only gain power through Bahamut if he would attribute himself. And he did. Now, he did fulfill his wish. He came back in spirit form. That was actually him in spirit form. You know, and Lunafreya is back alive, and everything was returned the way it was, just this time no Niflheim, so no Niflheim Empire, because he has the power to do that with the cost of his life, but that is the only way to beat Arden. Plus, even without the power boost of Ifrit, Noctis would have to sacrifice himself in order to destroy the Ring of Lucii, because the Ring of Lucii is the one that keeps bringing Arden back and the Star Scourge, because Arden actually helped craft the ring long time ago, and all the Lucius kings and queens were oblivious to its power, not realizing this is why Arden keeps coming back. So Noctis still has to, even without Bahamut's power, Noctis still has to sacrifice himself, and this is what King Regis dreaded, you know, in order to banish the darkness and demons and return the world back to the way it was before the Star Scourge and demons. And Noctis was even managed to make it so not even Niflheim came back. So that's Final Fantasy 15 in a nutshell, is to banish the darkness and fulfill the prophecy of the true King of Light and destroy the Star Scourge once and for all, and to defeat the evil Arden who's been doing this for 3,000 years. So this is what I gotta say about the compilation. May the crystal be with you. I'd get into the Final Fantasy 15 compilation. It makes a wonderful tale. So may the crystal be with you, and guys, have a nice day.